It's really an interesting observation. We're 26 minutes into our podcast, and every single thing that you're talking about is an internal opportunity or challenge, depending on which way you want to look at it. And every C suite executive that comes on this podcast, I ask the question, what do you think your top two challenges to creating long term sustainable growth are? Always the top three, four, five that are mentioned are internal challenges. Our greatest challenges are us. We love to do our SWOT analysis or look out and say what's happening. And these guys came out with this, and oh my gosh, they're taking the industry by storm. And like you think about challenges, we kind of tend to think they're probably external, right? But the greatest challenges to our growth in B2B are not external.
I think not having consistency, right? I think not being clear when you don't have clarity, when you don't have consistency. And I also think you have to stick with something long enough for it to turn into something. When it's, new technology, a lot of times, one of the biggest examples that I have is actually it has nothing to do with sports, but since I am the analogy queen and I love analogies, I remember just when Justin Bieber was young and coming out, when he first came onto the scene. And I think everyone was like, oh my God, he was discovered by us. So this kid is just kind of came out of nowhere. And if you go really do some research on Justin Bieber, you would see a lot of old YouTube things of him playing many instruments. This he had been doing it for years before he was discovered. And somehow even this conversation that we're in right now with AI, somehow people think that this just happened. We have been talking about machine learning and AI for 30 years. And bringing AI to the masses is new, but artificial intelligence unto itself isn't new. We're talking about quantum computing right now as if it's a new thing. When I was at IBM, I had the remit for HPA and HPC, which is high performing analytics and high performing computing. And honestly, that's kind of like the new today's quantum, if you will, of the importance of that. And so even when I think about cloud, before we cloudified it and named it cloud, it was just like we need to have multi-tenancy, we need to be able to do these types of things. And then we categorize those things as cloud. And so I say that because often we're looking at something as oh my God, this is extraordinary. We should all be there at the same time. And most of the time, it is like an iceberg where most of what has happened or most of what you don't see is literally below the surface. And you see this little peak, and everyone is excited about it or saying that they want to do it or saying that they can do it or thinking about, well, why can't I do it? And often, what you find is someone's been working on something for a decade. That's why they're good at it. They didn't just wake up yesterday and decide that this is what they're doing. They've been working on it for a while and they built the infrastructure around it to be successful. Now, if you haven't done that and you're trying to catch up, if you don't have a strong infrastructure yourself to build on that, you can, what I would argue, do rapid prototyping, rapid innovation, and you don't have an environment that allows you to do that. You're not that agile. You're not using agile principles. All of the things that make you be able to develop and do some things faster, you're just probably going to be behind. It doesn't mean you can't catch up. But I think what often happens, we look at the thing that we see and we're amazed by it. I mean, everyone was amazed with that kid when he first came out. But when you kind of go back and you see him doing other things, you're like, oh, you forget that he can play many, many instruments. You forget that he basically was writing music. You forget that he was doing all of those things because we weren't seeing what his preparation was up until that point. And I don't think business is any different. The question is, What has the preparation been up until that point? What has been your discipline around that preparation? What is your discipline to activate what you've been preparing yourself for? And all of those things become very important foundation, blocks to what you need to build on to be successful.